Okay, guys, this is the lecture about the triangles of the neck. The neck triangles refer to specific topographic regions delineated by the neck muscles. Sternocleidomastoid muscle, it serves as the dividing line, creating two primary neck triangles, anterior triangle and the posterior triangle. Each of these triangles further comprises several subdivisions. These neck triangles hold significant importance due to their contents housing various neck structures, just like glands, nerves, vessels, and the most important things are the lymph nodes. So here we can see in this schematic diagram, we can see the anterior triangle, and this is the posterior triangle, and this is the sternocleidomastoid muscle, which is dividing the neck into anterior and posterior triangles. Here we can see again of this. This is the anterior triangle, this is the posterior triangle, and in the anterior triangle, the subdivisions are over here mentioned. Submandibular, submental, carotid, and the muscular triangle. Posterior triangle of the neck. The posterior triangle of the neck has three borders. Anteriorly, posterior border of the sternocleidomastoid. Posteriorly, anterior border of the trapezius muscle, and inferiorly, middle third of the clavicle bone. Then the superficial cover is by the superficial fascia, platysma, and the investing layer. The floor is the prevertebral layer of fascia. If we look at the triangles of the, like the contents of the posterior triangle of the neck, the subdivisions of the posterior triangle are occupied by the regional lymph nodes, the third part of the subclavian artery, suprascapular and transverse cervical branches of the thyrocervical trunk, which arises from subclavian artery, external jugular vein, trunks of the brachial plexus, and the fibers of the cervical plexus. There are two subdivisions of the posterior triangle. Omohyoid muscle, it subdivides the posterior triangle into two parts. The larger one, that is the occipital triangle, and the smaller one, that is the subclavian triangle. Posterior triangle musculature. The posterior triangle of the neck contains a number of muscles which make up the borders and the floor of the area. An important muscle in the posterior triangle region is the omohyoid muscle, which splits into two valleys by a tendon. The inferior valley of omohyoid crosses the posterior triangle, traveling in a supromedial direction and splitting the triangle into two parts. The muscle then crosses underneath the sternocleidomastoid to enter the anterior triangle of the neck. The floor of the posterior triangle is formed by a number of vertebral muscles which are covered by prevertebral fascia, namely splenius capitis, levator scapulae, and anterior, middle, and posterior scalenes. Posterior triangle vasculature. The external jugular vein is one of the major veins of the neck region. It is formed by the retromandibular and posterior auricular veins and lies superficially, entering the posterior triangle after crossing the sternocleidomastoid muscle. Within the posterior triangle, the external jugular vein pierces the investing layer of fascia and empties into the subclavian vein. The transverse cervical and suprascapular veins also lie in the posterior triangle. The subclavian, transverse cervical, and suprascapular veins are accompanied by their respective arteries in the posterior triangle. The distal part of the subclavian artery can be located as it emerges between the anterior and middle scalene muscles. Continuing its course, the subclavian artery transitions into the axillary artery. Upon crossing the first rib, it will be supplying to the upper limb. Occipital artery, this is the occipital artery. Accompanied by the greater occipital nerve, it turns superiorly to pierce into the investing layer of the deep cervical fascia between the muscles at the apex of the posterior triangle. Posterior triangle nerves. The accessory nerve exists, it exits the cranial cavity, descends the neck, innervates sternocleidomastoid and enters the posterior triangle. It crosses the posterior triangle in an oblique inferoposterior direction within the investing layer of fascia. It lies relatively superficial in the posterior triangle, leaving it vulnerable to injury. The cervical plexus forms within the muscles of the floor of the posterior triangle. A major branch of the plexus is the phrenic nerve, which arises from the anterior divisions of spinal nerve C3 and C5, like from C3 to C5, C3, C4, and C5. It descends the neck within the prevertebral fascia to innervate the diaphragm. Other branches of the cervical plexus innervate the vertebral muscles and provide cutaneous innervation to parts of the neck and scalp. The trunks of the brachial plexus also cross the floor of the posterior triangle. Clinical significance of the posterior triangle of the neck. Here we can see the node, enlarged node, supraclavicular node. Lymph nodes present in the posterior neck triangle are the most common areas of metastasis from head and neck cancers and are routinely dissected in surgical cases. The left-sided supraclavicular lymph node, also known as Virchow's node, is supplied by lymph vessels originating from the abdominal cavity that pass through the thoracic duct to enter the venous circulation in the left subclavian vein. This lymph node is clinically important as it can be used to aid in the discovery and diagnosis of carcinomas originating from the abdomen. An enlarged firm non-tender Virchow's node is known as Troisier's sign and can be indicative of cancer originating commonly from the stomach, ovaries, testicles, and kidneys. This is the sign. The right-sided supraclavicular lymph node is also clinically relevant as it drains lymphatic fluid from the thorax. A firm enlarged non-tender right-sided supraclavicular lymph node can represent metastasis from lung or esophageal cancer as well as Hodgkin's lymphoma. So these are important points. Anterior triangle or triangles of the neck. The anterior triangles refer to bilateral anatomic subdivisions of the neck comprising the anterior surface of the neck deep to the superficial cervical fascia and platysma muscle. Laterally, the anterior triangle is bounded by anterior border of the sternocleidomastoid muscle. Here. The anterior triangle is situated at the front of the neck. It is bounded superiorly by the inferior border of the mandible. Laterally, anterior border of the sternocleidomastoid muscle. Medially, sagittal line down the midline of the neck. Investing fascia covers the roof of the triangle, while visceral fascia covers the floor. It can be subdivided further into 4 triangles, which we are going to discuss. Contents of the anterior triangle. The contents of the anterior triangle include muscles, nerves, arteries, veins, and lymph nodes. The muscles in this part of the neck are divided with their relation to the hyoid bone. We call those suprahyoid and infrahyoid muscles. So depending upon on which side of the hyoid bone they are situated. There are several important blood vessels pass through the anterior triangle. The common carotid artery, very important point. It bifurcates within the triangle into the external and internal carotid arteries. The internal jugular vein can also be found within this area. It is also responsible for venous drainage of the head and neck region. Numerous cranial nerves also located within the anterior triangle. Some pass straight through it, while others give rise to branches which innervate some of the other structures within the triangle. The cranial nerves in the anterior triangle are the facial, glossopharyngeal, vagus, accessory, and hypoglossal nerves. Suprahyoid and infrahyoid muscles. Questions could be asked on these muscles. Suprahyoid muscles is stylohyoid, digastric, mylohyoid, and geniohyoid muscles. Infrahyoid muscles are omohyoid, sternohyoid, thyrohyoid, and sternothyroid muscles. Subdivisions of the anterior triangle of the neck. The anterior triangle is subdivided by the hyoid bone, suprahyoid, and infrahyoid muscles into 4 triangles. And which are those? Carotid triangle, submental triangle, submandibular triangle, and muscular triangle. So this is the submental triangle. It contains certain lymph nodes. Muscular triangle, it contains fat, lymph nodes, the anterior jugular system, and the infrahyoid strap muscles. Submandibular triangle, submandibular gland is present in the submandibular triangle. Submandibular lymph nodes, lingual and facial arteries and veins, nerve to the mylohyoid and hypoglossal nerve. In the carotid triangle, lymph nodes, carotid system, internal jugular vein and its tributaries, cranial nerves, 10, 11, and 12 are also present in the carotid triangle. Carotid triangle of the neck has following boundaries: superior, posterior valley of the digastric, then superiorly, this is the digastric muscle, superiorly. Then laterally, medial border of the sternocleidomastoid muscle here. And inferiorly, superior valley of the omohyoid muscle. Inferiorly, this is the superior valley of omohyoid. So this is the inferior valley of omohyoid, which is in the posterior triangle. This is the anterior triangle. The main content of the carotid triangle are the common carotid artery, which bifurcates within the carotid triangle into the external and internal carotid arteries, the internal jugular vein, and the hypoglossal and vagus nerves. Clinical significance of the carotid triangle. Carotid triangle contains many vessels and nerves. They are lying relatively superficial and can be accessed surgically. The carotid arteries, internal jugular vein, vagus, and hypoglossal nerves are frequent targets of this surgical approach. The carotid triangle also contains the carotid sinus, very important point, which is dilated portion of the common carotid and internal carotid arteries. It contains a specific sensory cells, which we call baroreceptors. The baroreceptors detect a stretch as a measure of blood pressure. The glossopharyngeal nerve feeds this information to the brain, and this is used to regulate the blood pressure. In some individuals, the baroreceptors are very, very hypersensitive to stretch. In these patients, external pressure on the carotid sinus can cause slowing of their heart rate and a decrease in their blood pressure. The brain will become underperfused and they may go into syncope. So if there is a history of such an incident ever in their life, we are not going to check the pulse at the carotid triangle in those people. Is it clear to everyone? Yes, no, maybe. Great. Submental triangle. The submental triangle in the neck is situated underneath the chin here, this. It contains the submental lymph nodes, which drain the floor of the mouth and parts of the tongue. Usually question comes that if there is some tumor, malignant tumor in the mid of the lip, or if there is something on the tip of the tongue, where it is going to be drained bilaterally into the lymph nodes in the submental triangle. So it contains the submental lymph nodes, which drain the floor of the mouth and parts of the tongue. It is bounded inferiorly by the hyoid bone, medially by the midline of the neck, laterally by anterior valley of the digastric. The floor of the submental triangle is formed by the mylohyoid muscle, which runs from the mandible to the hyoid bone. This is the hyoid bone. Submandibular triangle. The submandibular triangle is located underneath the body of the mandible. It contains the submandibular gland, salivary, and lymph nodes, the facial artery and vein, also pass through this triangle. The boundaries of the submandibular triangle are superiorly body of the mandible, anteriorly anterior belly of the digastric muscle, and posteriorly posterior belly of the digastric muscle. Submandibular triangle. Important contents of submandibular triangle. A number of important structures are contained within the submandibular triangle: the marginal mandibular branch of the facial nerve, the lingual nerve, the hypoglossal nerve, the facial and lingual arteries with their corresponding veins, the submandibular gland, and the submandibular lymph nodes. If we look at the clinical significance of the submandibular triangle, due to silhadenitis, which is inflammation of the salivary gland and is a common pathology of the submandibular gland, we can see swelling in that area. Common symptoms include postprandial pain, foul taste in the mouth, submandibular swelling, and overlying skin erythema. Treatment is usually conservative with encouraging hydration, good oral hygiene, and Silgoogs. Occasionally, antibiotics would be required if there is expression of pus from the submandibular duct. Well, if surgery is going to be done to remove the gland, then there will be, if there are having recurrent episodes, then we have to go for the surgical removal. There is a potential risk of marginal mandibular nerve damage. Question also comes on that. What can happen? What could be the sequelae? Which is a branch of the facial nerve that can lead to weakness of the ipsilateral lower lip. It also potential for the damage of this marginal mandibular nerve in case of parotidectomy as well. Muscular triangle. The muscular triangle is situated more inferiorly than the other subdivisions laterally. Literally speaking, it is not a triangle. It is having 4 boundaries, actually. You can see it. The muscular triangle contains some muscles and organs: the infrahyoid muscles, the pharynx, the thyroid gland, and parathyroid gland. The boundaries of the muscular triangle are superiorly hyoid bone, medially imaginary line of the neck, imaginary midline of the neck. Superolaterally, superior belly of the omohyoid muscle, inferolaterally, inferior portion of the sternocleidomastoid muscle. Clinical significance of muscular triangles. Surgical access to this area of the neck is usually done for thyroid surgery and tracheostomies. A potential risk of both is damage to the recurrent laryngeal nerve. Other than the cricothyroid muscle, it supplies all the intrinsic muscles of the larynx, including the posterior cricoarytenoid, the only muscle that abducts the vocal cords. Injury to this nerve can cause hoarseness of the voice, aphonia, and dyspnea. So over here, we are done with our second lecture of the day.